Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Music Matters.
The Caribbean edition. I am Laura Dorridge.
And I am Nigel Campbell. And once again, we're talking about the business of music here in the Caribbean.
Yes, we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are back. And if you were in Trinidad for Carnival, or if you were paying attention to what was going on in Trinidad for Carnival, you would be very excited by our guest today. This is a man who has, for the last 3 years, three consecutive years, been in contention for Road March. This is a man who has single-handedly, I said what I said, together with his beautiful wife, have brought back the art of fetting the way we used to fet long time. This is a man who has been invoking nostalgia, making the younger generations yearn for the days gone by where fetting is concerned. I call him the modern griot of our times, the one and only Ian Alvarez, Bunji Garlin.
Hello.
Welcome to Music Matters, Bunji.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And as much as Laura has talked about your recent Road March victory and close calls, if you want to call it that, I think of you as an international artist, right?
Thank you very much.
Breaking out of the silo of Trinidad Carnival. I famously remember I write for Caribbean Beat, shameless plug, and I reviewed some of your records, including Alien, the album. But one of the things, Struggle, I love that lyric. But
Thank you.
Some years ago, you did a song, I think it's 2016, called Brace. I'll never forget that. That really was out of the box, Mumbaton. And I said, where is this man going? And I think your wife, not too long before that, I call her your wife, Fan Lines, let's call her by her real name, a government name. She had done a thing was called Catch Me with an American DJ. And they was pushing the boundary of what soca music is and what it can be. And I'm very happy to have this conversation, Laura and I. So let's go. Laura, talk to us. Oh, yes. So, well, let's just start at the beginning, because I think right now, while it's still hot and a contentious issue as it was, you were very close in the Road March this year, but you certainly won the Road March 2 years ago. And I think you're also very close in 2024.
Right.
Tell me about that. Were you surprised, one, at this year's Road March results? Let's get that out of the way so we could move past this.
Well, I was surprised by all, as a matter of fact, because I don't structure these songs for that. Ever since I stopped writing for Soca Monarch, or was writing songs to compete, my style of writing and formatting took a whole different direction in terms of creating to outlast this season. My sole focus is to create songs that could last 10 years going.
Thank you very much.
Different Trilogy, Big Bad Soca, Truck on the Road, and these songs like that.
Yes.
So my focus has always been that ever since I left Soca Monarch.
Wonderful.
And what happened now is I kind of end up getting caught in a great reset, which is after the pandemic, the whole banter online was like, I don't want to go to a small event when you see the place open. I want to go to the biggest things. So that is where I'm not going no small fete. Let me extend my apologies, right?
Yes.
That is where the whole idea came from, and it just ran like wildfire. But what ended up happening is things kind of went back to the format it used to be years ago, where the song that what the song that was big in the fete was automatically the song that big on the road.
And big on the road.
And in most cases would be the song that would be the Road March. And that's what ended up happening with Hard Fet. So, of course, the name of the song is Hard Fet. So it was created for the Fet because, in my opinion, was when the place opened after the pandemic, that set a candle vigil vibes that has been going on in what we call Fets. I do even want to be a part of that.
Candle vigil vibes, yes, sir.
Yeah. So I didn't want to be a part of that. So I was like, you know what? Create your own energy and attract your own tribe then, right? So I started putting that energy out of this, and not only me, sorry. Now, I think I would be wrong to say me alone, because actually that whole discussion was Faye and I.
Yes.
She's a child of energy as well too. And
child of soca.
Yeah. She was like, I can't do this slow thing. And I was like, me neither, And we just started heading towards the power soca route. And kind of driving it home then. And what we saw is that a lot of people was actually missing it. So that kind of fueled the song too and drove the song to where it was and where it is today. So just like the next year, Carnival contract, I got the beat, I like the beat. I was like, I like the idea, because I look for unique ideas too. And don't look for the safe space ideas or the typical ideas that you'll get a group of 5 writers to write. Nah. Me personally would not have a songwriter write for me ever.
I noticed that you're the sole creditor on all your songs. I've noticed that.
I not doing that. Same thing with Faye, same thing with a few others.
And your father-in-law famously.
Yeah, right. When I started as a battle artist. I started as the way called Jamaican term DJ, as a chanter. And to exist in that, you would never get ratings or credit for being somebody coming in with a song that somebody has write for you. It was looked down upon with that, right? It was looked down upon with that, you're shunned with that. So, and then we said we was going into battle, combat lyrics. So you can't come to battle and the lyrics is not yours, because most of the times everything coming off the top.
Yeah.
So I was trained in that school to only accept what you come with as the individual. Right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like, and then the ring is entering the crucible. If I go into a boxing match, I ain't going to fight borrowing somebody else's fist. I'm using my fist. It's the same thing with music. It's musical sparring. I come in with my skills, so I will never have a right. And not. That's one aspect, but the other aspect is because of where my head goes musically and lyrically. There's not a songwriter that will travel that route where my head does go. So I can't have a songwriter write for me. Because the ideas I just think of, they don't think of them things.
Trust me, struggle. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in time. But trust me, when I review that, I said, nah, this man is a wordsmith par excellence. Forget it. It's all over. But you're doing the thing that the early calypsonians did. Every calypsonian had to write their own song. There's no notion of a songwriter. That's an American pop thing. Somebody that a singer and that a songwriter. But the idea of a singer-songwriter becomes a calypsonian's part of his kind of legacy, as it was. But one of the other things that came out of this year's Carnival was, and you talked about competition. You had said that you're no longer in competition. I remember when you opted out of Soca Monarch. There was a business transaction that wasn't working in your favor, and they said, I out. You made a statement that you're probably out of the road march, because road march, you still have to enter your song into road march.
You still have to enter your song, register your song, which I realized a lot of people didn't know.
A lot of people don't know that.
A lot of people didn't know. They thought that that's whatever song you play plenty, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to be a financial member of 2 also.
Every year we have to say this. Every year we have to say you have to register a song. Like every year we have to explain this to people.
Just let us know. Are you serious about this, like about not putting your songs into contention?
I cool. There's some other developments that happen, even with coming out from Hardfit, that I was like, what? That I didn't realize was happening. And it had involved same thing of judges leaking info and them kind of thing. We just never put it out to the public to just keep a cool scene. But what happens, me personally, I've always been a fair fighter. That's just me, right? I remember walking away from, there was a year that I didn't enter Soca Monarch. I walk away from it. And I walk away from it because one of the other artists that was in it came to me with the idea of, let me cut a deal to kick back some so we could run it for a few years well. I remember, I could clearly remember that time was probably the most obscene language I ever used in my life at that time, right? Because that is not me, right? I am a person who like to feel what victory feels like in the end, right? I am one of them. I always say, art and war is my portion, right? I like to fight for what is mine, brutally too, if I have to fight for it. Because I know what I feel in the end is the satisfaction and the reward of all. It was worth it, right? And the moment added to that, the moment I found out too that there were judges on the table at that period of the Soca Monarch who were willing to facilitate that, to ensure that I win. I just walk away telling them, you ain't not me. I don't operate on this level, right?
Transparency and fairness. That's your name of your game.
That's me. That's why when Faye ran Soca Monarch a few years ago, we was very, very strict with the judges too about what to do. Laura was one of the judges too, and we were very adamant on what we would like to see and what to get done and them kind of thing. And there was no games about it and no favor and them kind of thing, right? And it was about, if you're good, you're good. It don't matter where you're from. If you're good, you're good.
You're good.
Right?
You're good. Laura, talk to us.
Yeah. So before Laura said anything,
Okay, sorry.
When this happened, so when this happened with the judge, the tabulator, sorry. So we basically putting out this kind of information before the time that any information was supposed to go, right? And of course, in Trinidad, is the story to start one way and is end up next way. So by Wednesday evening, the story was we left because the person win, and that was never the case. We already made that decision long before the results come out because of the violation that the tabulator made against the institute.
Yeah.
Right. And the real reason, the bigger reason for walking away was sad. After that information come out, the result turned out different. Everybody would have been saying, me or Faye found a way to find somebody inside it to change the results.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I don't know this thing and walk away. They can keep it.
I hear you. Laura.
No, I mean, Bunji, we've seen you fighting. Talk about fighting last year for Carnival contract. I sit them right here in Turks and Caicos and watch you fight to bring that song into real competition. Like it was surgical. It showed your experience as a veteran who's been out here for a while. You fight, you make that song a real contender to the point where people were saying, this could be the road match.
Yeah.
We know you can be brutal and surgical with the fight. Yeah. But with you stepping out of Soca Monarch years ago, with you now stepping out of road match, there's an argument in some quarters that competitions like these are they help your career. They help to give you a boost. They help to book you gigs. How do you view? I mean, you have not suffered from not competing in Soca Monarch.
No.
And so by not competing in a road match, do you think it will have any effect on your career at all?
No, because remember, it's only my name ended up just being involved in road match with the advent of family when family won. And everybody was like, you're waiting for a road match, remember I said never know, blah, 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 blah. And then when Hard Fed happened, it was like, yo, the man have the ability to do this. And Super Blue said something to me last year. He said, I don't know if you noticed, but once your name entered the road match race, your name does stay in the race forever,
Wow.
So no matter what you're saying, they will always be judging you like the first thing any song you drop the next year. Automatically people say, there's the road match song. They don't ask if that's a new song, if that's a slow song. The first thing that they say, that's the road match song. So I understand what Super Blue was saying when he told me that last year.
He is correct.
Right, because when
the moment wasn't carry drop, that was the first thing said.
Yes, and there was a whole story about that. You versus Tasia. And I remember saying it's too early for this conversation.
Yeah. Very early. Very, very early. I was like, wait a minute with this.
So by coming out, it kind of frees you from that box.
Yeah. Because that's why I never regret leaving Soca Monarch. I mean, the forward in Soca Monarch is great. As I always say, out of every Soca Monarch to me, out of all that was the ultimate fete experience. I talking about when you talk about energy and friendly, the climax was that Carnival Friday night. It didn't have no other party or event had that kind of energy, right? So that's the one thing I always love about Soca Monarch. But walking away from it, I didn't have no regrets, especially on work side and that kind of thing, because before I entered Soca Monarch, I always had the ability to reach people, right? Through words and through the way I deliver music and things like that. So walking away from it wasn't difficult. And then my style didn't start contemporary soca. I started tap in all different type of genres. I know different lanes to take and roads to walk. So walking away from this road march thing now, that it never defined me before, it ain't go define me now. Right?
I remember Skinny Fabulous telling me during COVID, just the first carnival after COVID, I did an interview with Skinny Fabulous, and he was telling me that artists today, like he say, even if he didn't compete in Trinidad, come to Trinidad for Carnival, he feel like it was not necessary anymore for an artist anyway to really be part of Carnival, or it didn't affect the ability to tour, because during COVID, when they were able to, he was still able to tour without a Carnival. So the game it seems that the game has changed, where artists are concerned, if you have a big song, you don't necessarily need competitions to
No.
validate you. You're still getting booked
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, that changed a lot. You know, when it changed it really changed and took that form. I don't want to say with me, but I clearly remember when Differentology came out, and everybody was rooting, enter Soca Monarch with it, enter, and I was like, I don't need to, I don't want to. And the song just still went all over the world and do it. It ended up TV show, this and that. So that now kind of give everyone the idea, well, hey, I don't need to enter this thing. So you started seeing more artists now. They didn't really care to enter, not as long as they have a big song, they can rally. And that was the focus and not becoming, as long as I have a big song, I could take wins.
You started the wave of major stars, and I was at 2011 Soca Monarch. It was to me one of the more popular ones. Everybody who was anybody in Soca was at that particular event,
it was
right?
that one, yeah.
That was that particular one, right? And I remember thinking that, well, because I had this idea about William Monroe, the organizer, taking this bunch of people and he could tour.
Yeah.
This is a Soca cavalcade, to use an old Motown kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I said this could go places, right? But I think probably you may have left the year after or something like that.
Yeah,
and then
exactly,
one by one they all left and things. So by the time that your wife, Fionn Lyons, was producing that Soca Monarch event, properly produced, well executed, everybody who was at the end said the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the critical things was it was a chance to reinvigorate what was Soca Monarch. You're trying to revive
that was the plan.
Yeah, but well, they went with another producer the following year, and so be it, right? But I think you've been able to, at critical point in your career, to make a move that, as you rightly said, didn't affect your career. I would suggest that it also allowed you to free yourself and to go different places, right? To try different things, different types of music, different collaborations and things, right? I've always been keen to understand, because out of the Differentology episode time when you were there, I know that you were signed to VP Records. You'll have to correct me on this. Or RCA Record. Was there a distribution deal with VP? What was that business model?
The distribution was that deal with Differentology was VP/RCA Records.
Okay.
RCA on the distribution side, VP on the artist representation label side. Yes. Right? And
I know that this, as you mentioned it also, that the song ended up on a popular TV show, so the synchronization dollars was nice for you. Happy for you. But I as I said, because of the kind of way that you've been pushing the edge of what soca music is, what is your international career been like? You've worked with Skrillex on a Grammy-winning record. You worked with these French guys who are Lumberjack and things.
Right.
Tell me about that international movement now that you're free from Soca Monarch, and I guess now you're free from this carnival music kind of situation.
The thing about it is amazing that when I still work a lot with the international counterparts. But there's so much less restrictions working out there than working within our own zone. Because I'm not sure if that happened because just the way we are as a people about everything is not about.
What kind of restrictions you're talking about?
We have a way where once you're here and you're doing stuff here, you're not allowed to do anything else in the mind. Right? You're a soca artist and we expect you to just do this and just do that and just do that. And the moment you end up outside working in these environments outdoor, I will call it outdoors. The moment you end up outdoors working with the international counterparts, they actually come daily hoping that you push the envelope into something different. Yeah, we know you could do this, but we want to see if you could do this. And we tried this yesterday, we want to try this tomorrow. We want to try this the next day. And every day is something different and new with them, which is encouraging because as a creative, your natural order of things is growth. You're a creative. You don't end up as a creative. Just stay small. Your whole journey is about growth and just expanding into something bigger and bigger and bigger. Here have a way of boxing it in. And the moment you try to go outside of that box, you're violating all the rules and who you think you is, and you feel you bigger than we, and all them kind of things. And you find a lot of artists afraid them ridicule, so they play safe and don't try to push the envelope and stay within the zone where they could when they smile, everybody smile back at them, and nobody ain't say nothing bad about them. But I always say, bro, the one God Almighty sent his only begotten son to die for mankind, and they still curse God to this day. And
That's
I
right.
am God.
That's
Right?
right.
So who is
Yeah.
me? So and with that notion, I hold my head and I walk where I feel to walk. This earth is real. Trinidad is part of the world. And this world is huge. And it's against the law in my head to be of any part of the world and not be able to access or contribute to any other part of the world where creativity is concerned.
Yeah. So that means that you and Faye outside you're doing some stuff, new stuff.
Yeah, a lot, a whole lot.
Give us an exclusive now.
I
Give
can't
us
get
some
that
sneak.
yet. I can't get that yet. But I
I
know
could always ask.
I know I could do. Well, I could, tell you that there's like 2-3 labels at the door right now.
Nice.
Tapping into some of the work that we just did, and discussions about to start on certain things, and they understand and respect where our head is at and where we want to go with things, and as opposed to other labels before that I've encountered where they want to step in and steer. In this one, they want to step in and sit on the wagon and
Right.
help wherever it steer to enrich the direction that is going to be steered in, which is one of the things that we always should have been trying to focus on for a long time. But again, we remember I always remember as a young artist growing up, always hearing, we people never reach no way and soca will never this and blah blah blah. So when this thing get embedded in your head that we as a people not strong enough to reach where we would like to reach, the natural default was always, and I realized, I think Laura and I spoke about this probably 2-3 times already. The natural default is or was to always look for some kind of strength from someone abroad to be the puller, right?
Yeah.
I cut myself off of that. I'm not sure if you noticed, since before the pandemic, I cut off all international collaborations like that, right? Right?
Did not know that.
The Nicki Minaj thing happened because she was genuinely in love with the song. And when Faye and Nicki just talk all the time and thing, and she was like, yo, I have a vibe for this, bam, 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 bam. And Faye was like, hey, try it, no problem, we like it, we're big enough to say we don't, and it was easy like that. But before that, to say like I actively seeking out, all right, I need to get a collaboration with this one. And I cut myself off for that long time because if I get up in the morning and I create something and it ain't strong enough to affect the world, then it ain't strong enough to affect the world. And then I need to go again. Because I don't see none of the other people that I trying to reach out to, or that I would imagine that I should reach out to, reaching back out to us, tell them, push them. They're doing what they have to push them. So I station myself in a position where when I get up and I push, and it must be strong enough. And if it's not strong enough today, by tomorrow or by the next day, or at some point in time, it must be able to get strong enough to say, hey, I want to be a part of that, please. I want. And ever since I did that, I saw a lot of that happening for me. And a lot of people from all over the world reach out. I love this style. I love this. I would love to be a part of it. And I simply respectfully tell them, I understand, but not at this time, not yet. Because I still trying to grow me to that level then. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? You talked about the labels coming to the door to you all, coming to your table as it was. Are these labels, I'm assuming they're multinational labels, but are they focusing on the American market, or are they focusing on the European market or the Asian market or the African market?
They so far some of the conversations have been very open-minded and not pro-American per se, or pro-European or pro-UK or whatever. Because what they're noticing is that the way music is flowing now, especially with the advent of social media, you really can't dictate. Because I mean, a few years ago, nobody was expecting all these Africans and them to just take over America with music like that. Right?
Correct.
So as much as you would like to say, so what you find happening now, Chris Brown jumping across with Wizkid and with Davido and this one and Justin Bieber and all of them going that way now, away from the American market to the African market. So Africa is the future. Africa is the future in a big way, right?
Yeah.
And the rest of the world still ain't see it yet. But Look at the kind of sounds that come from Africa that still nobody else could replicate right now.
Yeah.
Right? So what happens is, so you find the labels now, they come with a more open mind as like, wherever you want to go, we going.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
That's
Which
good.
is real good. Right? Yeah.
Has your Bunji, your focus, has it always been, as you say, as a creative, just having no real mental boundaries and being able to go where you want to go? But has your focus always been the world is my oyster, it's my playground, I could go wherever? Has that always been your focus?
I'm sorry, I would lie if I say yes, because of course when you start, you don't know that's what your mission is. It's until you get to a point and realize the world have so much to offer. That is when it does spark in your head like, yo, I'm thinking too small. Right? I can't think right here. We start on the block as chanters, and you're thinking your 4 or 5 brethren on the block who making noise, is it? Until you end up in a venue that have 1,000 people. And then when you hit the 1,000 people and they start to make noise, they say, would I reach it, until you end up in a venue with 5,000. Next thing you end up in a stadium. Next thing you end up in a stadium overseas. Right?
Yeah.
And I think the moment we started opening our minds to that it was right around that time is when the opportunities come where Faye, me, we did the Heineken House in Coachella with Jillian and them. We did Glastonbury, right? Keisha and them from Just Now was there with us too, right?
That Apple Music thing, was that part of your?
Yeah.
There was an Apple Music thing that I think you and Faye had done.
That was when Apple Music was there was billing content around the spatial audio.
Yes.
All right.
And it was for UK, and they wanted to implement the sounds of like what we do into that spatial audio format.
Okay.
And this was what it did. So what they did was take some tracks exclusively to Apple Music for 3 months. And it worked out fine. It opened a whole new market and audience for us as well too. Yeah.
I hear. One of the things that I look at, I kind of am the nerd that looks at numbers and data and that kind of stuff, right? There's this app called Chartmetric that count streams and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've noticed that your numbers aren't as high as some other artists, right? And one of the things that I do recognize is that yourself and Faye and Lions have combined Bad Beagle Tube. I know that for the YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
But I've also noticed, going back to some of my early reviews, that you're on the aggregator channels and you didn't necessarily have your own branded channel on YouTube and things. What is your mindset regarding branded channels, regarding social media, regarding Spotify and Apple?
All these things are fine. I think they're important in their own aspect. But for me, I was never one to care for analytics and them kind of things. Right?
Oh, really?
Never. Because my all right. In terms of being an artist, it goes in a circle, right? You write your song, you record your song, whatever. The completion of that circle is the live aspect of it.
Performance.
And
correct.
I am always of the strongest part of me must be the live performance part. And what that analytics does is that it gives you, this one charts everywhere, wherever, millions sold or whatever, and you take that same artist and put them on stage and everybody ready to get their money back to leave the venue, the party dead, the venue dead.
You're correct.
So analytics never was my thing. Yes, it may be important to to introduce you to new audiences and things, but more than analytics is good material. And if your material good, it will naturally pass any level of analytics that it would want to go through, because the material itself stands and tells its own testimony and story. But of course, that case could be argued, and I have no problem, you know what I mean, taking a backseat and say, all right, cool, I'm probably wrong about it. But that's just where my head is, where that is concerned.
Yeah, the labels don't look at that. The labels that you are talking to, they don't look at analytics.
Yeah, of course they look at analytics, but I guess they look at it in dual ways, because just as Mr. Nigel pointed out just now, right? Sorry, you don't say Mr. to make it so.
I was not gonna say just come like Nigel now.
No, of course you will use it to see, because if you're here in Trinidad, you wouldn't, unless you fly to the US, you wouldn't know what going on in the US. So yeah, of course, you have to watch your charts and your trajectories and all them kind of things, right? But also, a lot of people who read that realize it could also be misleading. Wait, so the last few years, some of these songs, biggest songs on TikTok, and I remember big articles and everybody was complaining. The same artists or the same songs that was big on TikTok, and they put them in this award ceremony, and the people only know 6 seconds in the song. And nobody don't know what to do with it afterwards. And that was a result of just depending on analytics. Right? So yes, I say I have my way. Some people will straddle the line, some people will hold firm to it, but that's just my view, respectfully.
I think that live performance is a critical aspect, certainly now where streaming money is half a cent and all them kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I bring back up the point of St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. You and Faye performed. You're like the headliners at that particular show, you and Buju. But I put you on, you actually ended up as the headliner of the story that I wrote, right?
Yeah.
Right. But there was clearly an impact, right? And the idea of performing live, I think, is one of the greatest things. And you have proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, how to deliver your product. The thing that you do, however, that I think a lot of people are always amazed at is the improvising, right? Where you're on it. I've seen you read out car numbers at cars getting towed and you rhyme them.
Yes.
A fire, it was, I think it was Fatima Feta, and there was a fire and something, and you told the story in rhyme, and that to me has always been one of the things that I said. In soca music, you're a wordsmith. Soca music to me now is carnival music, or music that supports carnival. But when you put great lyrics, it elevates it in a big way, right? And certainly when I mentioned the struggle earlier, the struggle to me is an autobiographical story, I'm assuming.
Right.
It told your whole life.
Yes, that is true.
But you had esophagus and rhinoceros, and you rhymed those words perfectly. Perfectly. And I think in another song you had in one of the songs on Alien, you had mitochondria and conqueror. I'm thinking nobody does that. And even in Hard Fet, I mean, some people may suggest that, well, I just need an easy hook or or something like that, right? But you said, nah, we better than that. The Caribbean has produced wordsmiths. We went to a Nobel Prize in the Caribbean. This is what we need to have. I ramble. Sorry, but go ahead.
No, you're right. That is my mental. My mental is we as a people have too much to say to just keep it to 4 lines. Right? That's just me.
Love it. Love that.
Many people might disagree. This and some people might want to hear all that. Yeah, fine, no problem, cool. But that's just me. I was never one to accept the ABC level of content or things like that. Remember when I was small in Waterfield growing up, the thing that attracted me most to the radio was, well, at the time, well, not hip hop, but was called rap. Because it was the biggest use of vocabulary here, and because at the same time too, I picking up a dictionary and just reading and trying to learn words as I go along. Reading is always an important aspect, an important factor for me too. Right? We have lots of books in here, and I'm always picking up something and reading. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm always trying to read and always trying to understand a new word and things like that. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to use it, but it's just for me to have an understanding of it, because somebody might use it with me.
Mitochondria.
I want to be able to banter the level, I remember telling my mom years ago that one of my dreams is to be able to use every word in the English language. Right? And I was probably like about 12 when I told her that. I don't know if that will happen, but as we go along. So while growing up, even though I grew up in a Christian home, and the whole idea was to keep me away from Carnival and all that. Oh, really? I always remember there are certain calypsos, even at the time, that stood out because of the way they were structured, what they had to say, and how it stayed with me. And then,
like which calypsos? Like which calypsos?
King Austin, Progress, right? Maestro, Be Careful, right? Songs like that. What is his name by oh gosh, Bionic Man, $6 million man.
Maestro, nice Maestro. Bionic.
Maestro, Yeah,
Bayonet.
Bionic.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
maestro.
That maestro, right?
Yeah. Really
Yeah,
maestro.
right.
Yeah.
Right. But even the storytelling in it now, right? I mean, and so when we started street chanting and thing too, our whole thing was on that, based on that too. It was based on how hard your lyrical content to be. Remember you leaving your house as a kid, we're gonna stand up by the dial in a Rima. Probably have like one of them at the time was Rhythm Nation, one of them put on a cassette with some instrumental. And we're singing songs that nobody ever hear. I talking about you leaving past and going to work. And then that walk from the corner before you reach the next corner by the old courthouse, I have to find a way to grab your attention by what I saying. So that pressure on us, you to make us think faster, act faster, think bigger, think wider, and find ways to grab you. So that's how we end up, we sometimes we ending up with things that even judges and them used to go and park and come back. I was like, oh, all they think about that. Because we was kids on the corner. Always remember I learned that style of chanting from Squeezy Rankin, and then I'm glad Squeezy get through now and he end up in Young Kings and things like that. But Squeezy and them they were like the pioneers of that when I was still a little boy. Them was, of course, older than me. Right? So, and in fact, when I met Squeezy and them chanting on the corner, I used to beatbox. I didn't know nothing about chanting and thing. So I used to be beatboxing and Squeezy and them chanting and battle and clash and all kind of thing. So it always stayed with me to be hard on what you have to say, always be big on what you have to say, always be strong on what you have to say, because if you take away the music, the words alone must still have an impact on you. It must still raise your pause.
There you go.
Yeah. I remember the late Keith Smith wrote a story when you had written the bomb song about the bomb that went off in Port of Spain.
Yeah.
Keith Smith wrote a piece about you that really opened my eyes to your ability to tell a story. And in those days, you were hitting a lot of social issues in your music.
Yeah.
And he compared you to the calypso greats. And he broke down your ability to tell a story like a calypsonian. And today, Bunji, what we're seeing now, we're seeing a lot of the younger artists telling stories. Voice has been telling stories from the first day he won, the first year he won, he'd be telling stories. Altasia is telling stories.
Yes.
Freetown Collective been telling stories. Like we're seeing a lot of storytelling now. Platform. And we had an interview with Andre Jeffers, who wrote, Road Marches Here. And he was talking about power soca and the fact that it is now about storytelling, because he said, no, the generations today not just going to accept that you need to jump and wave.
No.
We need to lay it out for them as to why they need to jump and wave. And even with Hardfet, we saw this here in Hardfet, you were literally conditioning. Fia and I spoke about it. You were literally conditioning people on how to fet. So storytelling is now par for the course. And you spoke about being a chanter. I mean, I don't know how a lot of people knew you started off in dancehall, and I wrote a story for Caribbean Beat years ago. I think it was one of my best stories ever about you and your evolution, growing up in the age of the maxi taxis when that dub was raining and you grew up in that era, and you wanted to be a dancehall artist, and then you end up segueing into soca. Your generation, there were a lot of other artists who started off in dancehall, segued into soca. Do you see today? We see Zest artists now coming into soca. Do you see a correlation between
the stories you see
and what you did to what we're seeing today?
It's just an updated book with a new cover. It's the stories you see.
Hear how you say that. Oh God. Hear how you say that. Oh God. Oh God.
The story,
lyrics, brother.
The story always, I mean, it is almost biblical. It's nothing new under the story is always the same. Right? And not in reality. A lot of the people who end up in the local arts, I want to use the word local, the arts of Trinidad and Tobago, especially when the music is concerned. Check how much people came from church background or from R&B group or this kind of group or all kind of different backgrounds.
Rock music,
right? Rock and all kind of thing, because we have all them things existing here. But the hard point is to pass any kind of form of acknowledgement musically. You have to enter this arena. Hard and fast. We cast that in stone from years ago. right? So it will always, that format always remain.
What does
One of
that
the,
say?
go ahead.
Sorry, Nigel. What
You-
does
you
that
can
say about soca? Is it that soca is just the more economically viable vehicle for artists in Trinidad, or is it
Yeah,
that soca is our art form and we need to embrace it? It's like coming back to home, coming back to self.
yeah, yeah. Listen, when I decided to put on my very first soca track, I will never forget going back by the Garlin because I used to sell clothes on the strip mall in Arima there, right? Where the old courthouse was.
Serious?
And yeah, on the
did not
front
know
line,
that.
I was hustling clothes, yeah, man. Thing, right? In
I'm a
them little
hustler,
tent and
yeah.
them, we was out there. And I always remember recording the full soca and come back and play it for them fellas and them. And the first question from every single person was, you sure, boy? Right? Because the way we grow or the way we grew at the time, it was taboo for somebody of that demographic and that age group to willingly want to go and get involved in soca, right? Because at the time, it was viewed as a elder people music, and it was viewed as a softer music compared to what we was doing. It ain't as hard as. And boy, there's a punk and thing, you know, because remember, a young man growing up, the whole thing is testosterone. And you want to be a hard man, and you want to be a roughneck, you're tough out there. You're not looking like it's softening up at all, right? So when I step out there, I remember all the little gangsters in the area. Rude boy, you're sure, boy. A man like you, but I always remember that. A man like you, boy, you're sure, boy. Because it was going against what we all know cast in stone for we too. People like we don't go that road. We don't walk that road. That's too soft for we. So the moment I do that, it was almost like, you're sure, boy, look like you're selling out, you know. Because remember, not only we around us have other little local hip-hop man, little rappers, everybody congregate into one little group now because that's our own support system, right?
Yeah.
Ironically enough, we would all be able to huddle together, but the moment we go around in certain soca zones, it was like, what I'm doing here, boy, what I'm doing here. So I understand that feeling that any new youth coming in from any other different background into soca, that look they get, that, you know, I understand that. I went through that. JD went through that. MX Prime went through that. All of us went through that because we come from some different. It was like, what are they coming here to interfere with this thing for, boy? And everybody watching it like it's dirt and it's germs and, you know.
Has it changed much, Bunji?
No, it don't. I say it don't change much.
Do you still feel like people treat you like an outsider? Do you feel like people
right
still
now currently?
Yeah,
of course. I still see the eyes. I still hear the conversation. Yeah, I still see the eyes. Still hear the conversation. So 2020, we in 2025 now, right? Look, 2023, we did a certain major event. And then in 2024, when everybody was called, can't wait till they come back. And we realized that, all right, cool, we went about the business, but the conversation didn't happen last year. And then all of a sudden, I remember hearing this voice note going around from a particular journalist asking, anybody can verify this? We hear so-and-so didn't book back Bunji and them because of the crowded as a truck. And he was saying in 2024, we still saying these kind of things.
Wow.
I knew exactly what he meant by that, right?
Wow.
And anybody who playing, they don't know what that means. They're just back in a role. So, I mean, even this same 2025, as much events that I was in, right? There were certain events that people tried to lobby, and when my name came up, well, that's not his crowd, and no, and
so we have segregation still. Let me just say it as it is now.
It's nothing new.
Yeah, it's surprising to hear this.
New. It is nothing.
But surprising to hear this about you. That is my concern. And I'm saying this because what was happening in, let's say, 10, 15 years ago when you were first starting up, is certainly what you are now. And your family and hard fed, all of a sudden you're in the quote unquote one of the elites. But if they still tell you, no, we don't want you in our fed because, well, although he elite, he represents something else. That's
crazy.
Ironic that you say that just now, because this thought ran through my head earlier today, right? About something else. And I was like, I don't know how I don't know, like this part here is deja vu from earlier today, right? And I always remember years ago saying I learned something about us as a people. And I have to say us because I am part of Trinidad and Tobago too, right? We are one strike kind of people. One strike you're out, right?
Yes.
And if at your first swing you went off, that off stain that stay on you for the rest of your life here. No matter what you do, somebody always willing to go back to that past to validate why they should hold on to that past. As much as you try to change your trajectory, no.
Yeah.
That's us as a people. And that's why you'll always find people who trying to find a way out, find it so difficult to get, because there always a bunch of people who willing to hold on to the memory of that one thing that, and it probably wasn't even their fault. Right? And that is why things like that exist in Trinidad still to this day.
Okay, so let's get a little controversial, right?
Yeah.
You're going down that road? All right.
Yeah, we're going down that road. Because, you know, I don't remember that Bunji talking. I really shouldn't be surprised because it wasn't until Differentology, the year after Differentology, when you had what I think was your best album ever.
Right.
Everything was a bang on that album.
The year
that
before.
you got access to the Uptown Fest. Suddenly you were in the big fets. And I remember us talking about this. I was like, wow, that's crazy. You've been out for so long. Like, that's insane. But as somebody who, you know, you have been holding strong for power soca, you have been holding strong for the aesthetics of soca that we grew up with, the flags, the
ground.
Ground,
right?
right?
The ground.
You used to carry it. You were the man, you know, really pushing that narrative in song and that aesthetic. Do you think that is one of the reasons why certain people don't want you in their space, because to them you represent a class that they want to vibe with, because you know these people who they figure would be attracted to your music, and that kind of fed car pass muster by the committees, right?
That too, that too. I remember
before I answer, do you think it's also a color thing?
Yeah, man. There's a lot of color things happening right now. I tell you already, somebody need to do an article called The Color of Soca. Right?
I did something about it wasn't the color of soca, but it's something about Carnival and the separation
talking about the reality of things. There's a lot of that happening. And it seems like every year it gets more and more prevalent because no one is getting pulled up by the socks. So people feel more emboldened to continue doing these things, more bold, more in your face with every passing season. Right? And is you see, the thing is, all these things is a reflection of this society we're in, you know.
Of course.
All these things that happening in the music and around the industry and arts is a reflection of what our society encouraged and harnessed and harbored over the years. Right? That whole class system thing, right? That been ingrained in us as people from long time. I always remember growing up as a little boy, right? And you would see sometimes your other little brethren and them, the way you would see the way their more than their father, you would see the way their mother would move around certain people when she ended up in certain spaces.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, when you're small, you can't explain, you don't know, you're seeing this, but you don't know what it is seeing, so you can't explain. It's only when you get big and you do all the maths, you realize.
Yeah.
She was conforming to something that she thought she had to do. She was like, well, amongst these people, I have to move this way, and along these people, I have to. And when I'm amongst my people, I could do what I want.
Yeah.
Right? And then so we as kids know we absorb that and then know what we're absorbing, and we just follow pattern and follow pattern and follow pattern. Now think of all the other sides of the coin doing the same pattern that they learn from their parents, whether you're on the upper echelon or on the lower echelon. Right? So this cycle, this thing keeps going on, and it keeps affecting the way we do things or the way we could do things
Mm-hmm.
because of these things playing in, right? Now, the moment you decide to open your mouth and say something about it, who is you?
Yep.
You understand? And
Yep.
you're looking to get cast out.
And that's why a lot of
Colorism in soca.
don't say nothing.
But it exists. And if the reality is it exists on all sides. You can't sit on one side and say it exists. It exists on all sides. All. And it's a bad thing that it exists here because our whole here what we national anthem saying in.
All creeds
Here
and
every creed and race find an equal place in the national anthem. And we always live the total opposite of that as a general people.
Now you with Heartfelt, the event, you'll prove that listen, we could do this thing, right? We could bring people back together again, no VIP, everybody is one, and just have good, clean fun. And I'm pretty certain come next year, because of the success of Heartfelt gonna blow up.
You need to go to the stadium, straight up. I watched that and I said, we go in that small place, so come on. Bunji Garlin.
I'm pretty certain a lot of people might try to replicate the concept because it was so successful. And there's an argument that somebody made to me to say, oh, that's not going to work because economically, the all-inclusives or the fed to the VIP and all those segments, it make more economic sense to have those types of fed. They make more money than just a big fed that with, like what you all had.
Bunji face.
Somebody actually told me this.
Listeners cannot see Bunji Garlin's face right now. It's probably for the best.
That is why I was told that economically it just makes more sense to just have the segregation.
That person probably only know one side of maths. Because there's so many factors that could be called into play to, negate that statement, right? All right, and the final point about that, or the biggest point about that, putting on that Heartfelt wasn't even about a monetary decision, right? It was about an important decision about something that represents us as a people that needs to exist. Right? And something that needs to exist outweighs the financial gain. Fair and I know small artists, we working all the time, we making money. So this fete is not even about that then. And if we actually want to do an event that is money driven, we could do that too. This is not about that. This ain't even about that.
Okay.
But eventually it will get to that level because numbers naturally drive economic growth. Right? So when the numbers grow, we will deal with that. But right now, the focus is on establishing this is part of what we do as a people, and we shouldn't run from it. And I was very happy with the turnout of Heartfelt in terms of, I was looking back at some of the pictures. I could be very honest. Some of the people I saw there, I never expected to see there. Right? Because I would only see, they're very particular and select about where they go. Right? Because you come in the air of, well, if I go here, I might be caught in pictures next to these people and I don't want to look like I belong to them, so I wouldn't go there. I will go here. So that if I get caught here, then I look like I'm part of this crowd and I'm part of that crowd. And all these foolish notions and kind of thing is what happening. So Heartfelt was created to take away that. Right? It had no VIP, right? It was a safe space. And safe space, not only in terms of physically safe, but safe from people looking at you weird. You could free up. Just enjoy yourself. Sweat. Your whole purpose coming there is to escape all that.
Yeah.
And that was a testimony to me of how much people just looking to escape all that frou-frou.
It works. It worked. It really worked.
Right? So when I saw the pictures of all these people who I know, they're very particular and they came there. And I started to do the maths in my head. I was like, okay, everything the way we presented everything was correct and they felt safe coming there. And it don't matter if you go up or down. the key point in all these events that a lot of promoters sometimes dismiss is safety. People's safety is important.
Yeah.
Right? And that was a very big thing for us for that Hardfed thing.
And you know that is something, as Hardfed grows in size, that is something you will have to seriously look at and manage, because let's be real, one of the reasons the big public feds suffered was because people didn't feel reach a point where
it's real talk. You don't feel
they wasn't feeling
remember
safe.
we could laugh and joke about it now, but remember it had a squad called the Pickpocket Association. Coming through town, right? I mean, now that you're talking about it, the conversation, they became a part of the fabric of what we had, but it was a very real thing that people doing that, you know what I mean? I mean, of course, you had the little one or two, the scuffle and them kind of things, natural of anything that size, you know? So I always have to be open for them things.
Yeah.
I want to just suggest that soca music and carnival, to a point, certainly reflects your society. As much as we think it is a kind of uniter, all we is one kind of aesthetic, we have to acknowledge that our society is divided by class, right? Unlike America. So America has race as a division, and that's embedded in the history, regardless of what they want to say otherwise. So they have categories of music and race music, as they used to call it back in the day and thing. And people telling Beyonce she can't sing country music and that kind of thing, right? You have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have maintained that groundation in terms of your beginnings and a kind of a certain aesthetic. But critically for me, as I said, I'm a fan of lyrics, right? Your lyrics have elevated soca music beyond anything else on the marketplace right now, right? And I think it can be a uniter of people, smart people, rich people, good-looking people, white people, whatever you want to call them, I think, right? And more power to you going forward, right? I just want to come to wrap back to your kind of external movement as it was. You said some labels are talking with you. You're seeing the planet, not necessarily North America as your oyster. What is your vision certainly going forward? Because I know you don't only make music for Carnival. So what's happening between March and, let's say, October? What is Bunji Garlin and what doing?
Right now we are
Bad Beagle.
well, in between we'll be doing Carnival recordings for all the carnivals going up the islands and kind of things. But we'll be doing a lot of other worldly projects, right? There's this. Of course, I have a lot of ties into the dance market and the EDM market in terms of producers, and of course that stemmed off into some hip hop producers and things like that. There's this one producer that we became very good friends with. He came to Trinidad the first time. Actually, his mom is friends of one of our neighbors, and we all got close, which was actually Boy Wonder, which is one of Drake's main producers. And Faye and him, and they actually have some tracks already from since before the pandemic to release. I have some projects working on with him, things like that. So we have a lot of these. Faye has done songs like this guy who produced Fernando Garibe. We produced Lady Gaga and all of that. So she has some works with him. Some of the producers this just recently sent some more stuff to get done, and to be honest, some of these projects might even play on a radio station in Trinidad.
Wow.
Right. And it's cool. I mean, the world is wide. The world is wide. Doesn't necessarily mean because it plays here, it's heard there, or because it played there, it should be heard here. The fact is that it's being heard somewhere. And I think over the years, I was glad to escape that, because a lot of people who just sit here in Trinidad just be of the opinion that if they ain't hearing it here, it's not happening. And they're so far off. And then they think that what they hear in here all the time is what happening around the world, and it's like, bro, nobody know that to know.
I think you're beyond soca. I mean, I go back to 2015 Brace. I was the first review I ever did of one of your songs in Caribbean Beat. And when I heard it, I said, wow, well, I know Mario Calendar, Mario.
Right,
And I said, where is he going with this thing now? And I hear your voice, and I said, well, that's Bunji. Well, I know the song is Bunji, but I said, this is going to a place that nobody else has gone before. And I repeat the thing about your wife, Fayan's song, Catch Me. which I can't remember the name of the producer off the top of my head. I think it's a
That's
Brooklyn.
Richie Beretta.
Richie Beretta, right?
Yeah.
And it was just dance music. And I remember thinking, this is the direction, because people have been asking, as I said, soca music has been so tied to carnival that if there's not a carnival, sometimes the music has no context, right?
Yeah.
But when you have music that you put out that can be played in a club, in a festival at Coachella, in some European EDM festival, wherever the deal is, in a continent, the continent of Africa, that to me is where the direction is, and that is what we should be doing as Trinidadian artists and thing. Big up to you, brother. I'm so glad I had a conversation with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, kudos. I love the direction.
So.
I mean, I talk to you all the time, so a lot of this I already know.
Yeah.
Well, this is my first time talking to Bunji Garlin for extended period. More than I co-hosted the podcast with Laura, and he said, "Oh, you."
But Nigel is right. You all are beyond soca.
Beyond soca, This is
and Carnival is just one.
Carnival
is
a 2 months
aspect of the journey, but it's just one.
It's only 2 months out today. We are 12 months in a year.
I don't take that statement. I don't take that statement lightly either. In fact, it's because I don't take that statement lightly that's the reason I created Carry It the way I created Carry It. And not only Carry It, but 1,000 and a lot of them other songs I did this year. I in my head, I was just kind of doing some calculation and realizing we as a people, as Trinidad and Tobago as a people, we are very big dreamers, right? Because the kind of things we achieve in this world history as a small people. So we always, in our heads, we know we have the ability to do things, but beyond the doubt, beyond people who like to doubt. The Trinidad have a lot of people who dream killers and doubters, right?
Plenty.
But inside of there, we have the ability to dream big and always pursue what we try to dream of and that kind of thing because of the things we contributed to the world as a small people. And what in my head, where our music is concerned, for the past few years, in my mind, I was like, yo, we might be moving a little too far. It seemed like the music advancing beyond the people, the understanding of the people, which is why a lot of things go out and they don't get it and they don't catch it because it's just too far-fetched for them, right? And when that happens now, the happiness aspect of our people come and get compromised, right? So for this year, for me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to dial it back. I'm going to dial it back to a song that we know as a people. Not jab, not booyah. The snares that we did was like the Trinidad typical contemporary style soca, the way we used to do it back then. And I was like, you know, this year really for me, this year was about being indigenous, right? Because at any time, we already proven that at any time we could focus on going outward. But sometimes I think we focus going so far outward that we keep forgetting to look inward, right? I mean, look at everything already outpriced for the locals, right? The common man can't go certain things and whatever. So that happiness aspect done stripped away from he already, or she, as the case may be, right? And everything is just beyond the reach. Even the mask makers and them is not local no more. Everything being imported, so the normal wire bend and thing ain't have as long time. So that happiness aspect gone too, right? And then I was like, you know what? We probably just need something to just boost us as a people. And Carry It was born.
1,000 was my favorite song.
I applaud that, Bunji, and I noticed there are other artists this year, and maybe that is why people say the music this year was the best since 2015 because it seemed to be a return to self. And the thing that we always say about Trinidadians is that we seem to lack cultural confidence. We seem to not be confident in what we do and what we own. And we want to latch on to every international trend. So then segment come out, we jump on that. Booyah having a moment, we jump on that. EDM is a thing, we jump on that.
Remember,
we jump on that.
Remember, as again, and I was telling some friends yesterday, Trinidad was never a poor society, per se, right? Remember, we have oil, we went through 2 oil booms, whatever. So when they say, where's the oil boom? I said, all right. I said, picture a regular man able to live at the level of the almost rich American following the American dream. They was like, what? I say, yeah, we went through that twice as a nation, right? I say, and with that came the ability to get wherever we want from around the world. So the regular man had the ability to buy one of the best cars around the world and bring it in, and the clothes and the this. So that mentality of being able to just jump where we want, stay with we from a long time. So that's why or any trend come up, we always think by right, we should be part of that trend. Simply because we had the ability to be part of any trend that existed in the world as a small people. So that mentality stay with us generation to generation to generation. We're right, Laura rightfully say. So any new brand style of music come out, we jumping on it because we think it's we right to jump on it. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes not that is not, I mean, yeah, we have the ability to jump on, but we also have the ability to bring up what we have and bring it to the forefront too.
Yeah. And also in doing so, it exposed, for a long time I used to say, what is our lifestyle? What is the soca lifestyle? You watch hip hop, you see hip hop have a lifestyle, they have a fashion, they have a swag, they move. You watch dance, it's the same thing. You watch reggae, they have a look, there's an aesthetic. And for a long time, I've been questioning what is the lifestyle of soca? What is the walk? What is the aesthetic? What is the fashion? And this year, because of the music, and particularly because of your music, I was beginning to see that taking shape, that there is a lifestyle, there is a dress, there is a way we carry ourselves that is soca. So we just need to believe in ourselves, and we need more artists to believe in themselves and believe in us and the music and tap back into what made us. You saw it with the Tilden rhythm, you see it with voice own way. You just, you see it,
This year was the most comfortable on stage for me, right? I probably wear more three-quarter pants than ever in my life this carnival. Because I was like, just now. Why running down suit here? Why putting on a suit here for, boy? That's not my style. Like, brother, I live in the tropics. I am an island man. Thing, three-quarter pants, t-shirt, maybe a shirt. And when I go there, I don't want nothing holding me back from I like to move on stage. I really like to move. And so I don't want nothing restricting me. And I was like, you know what? There's my style for the cat. No, nobody I probably went through Carnival. I have plenty clothes upstairs. And one three-quarter jeans maybe carry me for the most of Carnival.
I don't think anybody realized that though.
No, because they're focusing on the performance. I reach home, wash it, gone again. Reach home, wash it, gone again. This one dirty, I have a next one. Same color, let me go. I just wanted to be comfortable on stage and really, because when you watch Chris Brown on stage, watch Chris Brown dress code. Right? When you watch this one, I was like, bro, listen, I approaching this like rock and roll. I intend to at some point dive off the stage and I ain't diving off the stage in no suit. Three-piece suit and tie, you're trying to come with your tie hook up in the fence and all kind of thing. Nah. Like, I'm going out there to exercise, sweat, have fun, leave dripping wet. You understand?
And have the audience begging for more. You're right. Yeah.
For that comfortable. Now, Alexander McQueen, I know you're nice, but not today. Adidas sneakers for you tonight. Bam.
Yeah, you can't be telling people that you only go in fetid short pants and sneakers and t-shirt and vest and
then doing it.
I need to remember that suit there. You're defining a whole new aesthetic there, certainly from this carnival going forward, and that's I think it's important. Again, as I said, I'll harp on this over and over again. The lyrics elevated the soca, but critically, your aesthetic, as Laura defined, is now, and the music that you kind of admitted this year came about. It's kind of redefining what soca music is, certainly for a new generation. I'm from an older generation, they could probably see by this, right? But there was a time when soca music was a freedom, as it was, right? And they became, certainly over years, and there's kind of segregation, as you said, certainly within Carnival. And you have advised that there may have been a certain kind of colorism and a kind of segregation in terms of audiences and how they react to certain soca artists, kind of stuff. But you brought it back home. And I want to thank you for that, more importantly.
Hey, man, respect every time.
I love it. Laura, talk to us.
Thank you, Bunji. This has been, we could talk for hours.
I think so.
Hopefully we get you back another time. But thank you so much for enlightening us. I mean, you're always very enlightening to speak to. It's always, always good in-depth conversation. I learned a few new things today that I didn't know before. I didn't know you were an avid reader. So
Yeah.
Had to be rhinoceros and esophagus. Come on,
I
man.
did not know this.
Mitochondria,
I know he's a wordsmith.
conqueror. Please now,
I
man.
know he's a wordsmith. I didn't know he was an avid reader. What you reading now? You have a
Nah,
particular
well,
favorite genre of books?
Nah, just reading
Just
some
read.
comic book. I actually, started reading Keanu Reeves' his own comic called Bazooka. So I'm on the light side right now.
One thing I didn't ask, and if you don't mind, just quickly, mentors, whether it was soca mentors or dancehall mentors, or who were your mentors when you were
For
young?
me,
I forgot to ask that question.
well, Super Blue was my drive. He was the person that made me want to go in Soca Monarch in the first place.
Wow.
Watching Super Blue. We used to stay home to watch this. I mean, of course, I had no choice but to stay home as a little boy still. So, but we
Destroy
waited
Skinner
up.
Park.
Yeah, waiting up to see Super Blue, perform and win. And see the friendly and the way the crowd would just swarm the stage and all them kind of things. Like, yo, it was like, what kind of magic is this? And I always wanted to feel, and so I always remember when I got into soca, it wasn't to get into soca, it was to get into Soca Monarch. And it was because of Super Blue, right? Always Bird and Flames is always one of my picks too. With the terms of like the rhythms and them kind of thing. I mean, they had a long run on the airways in Trinidad for a really long time too.
From Antigua.
Without barely touching the soil here, but they was dominant on the airwaves, and I always liked them for that. And then of course on the dancehall side was like the Capleton and the Bounty Killer and the Beanie Man, Ninja Man, Super Cat. Lionel Richie was always one of my favorites too.
Nice.
I always say my favorite song in the world is All Night Long for Lionel Richie. That song for me is be like all these songs of the world come together.
What song is this, sorry?
All Night Long.
All Night Long.
All Night Long, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should talk to Lionel's people and say, listen, I could throw in a rap for you. Easy, I can improvise that like that.
Yeah. And that line you have, we're going and party, lime. Using words from all the different places. For me, that was telling that the care that they was taking with the song and how they wanted to include as much people as possible.
Yeah.
Make it kind of like the perfect song for me then,
Nice.
And
Wonderful. Thanks a lot for that. Yeah. Laura.
No problem.
So, Bunji, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am so glad we finally got your music matters.
Yeah.
5 years now, but that's okay.
The things are worth waiting for.
That's what it says.
We have Fram before, now we finally get Bunji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing the outputs during the year. We will be giving
new records with major labels and global dominance.
I could say right now, one song that started to take a nice growth right now, as I wanted to during Carnival, but is starting to take its own wings now, and thing which is Celebration.
Yes.
Produced by Banks and Ranks. Keep your eyes on that song. That's all I will say for now. Keep your eyes on that song. That's all
on it now, and here it is.
Yes, that's a really nice song. That's a really nice song.
Thank you.
So Bunji, thank you so much again. This was a wonderful
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Good upstairs and eat.
All right. Say hi.
All right then. Okay,
later.
Okay then. Bye-bye. All the best. Laura?
What a conversation. I
love it.
Exactly as I expected. When she's somebody we could talk to we could go for hours, honestly.
I realize that, but well, I know the Soca Sessions, we try to kind of silo Soca Sessions. Do like Joe Rogan and have a 3-hour conversation. I ain't gonna lie to you. If this man getting $100 million to talk for 3 hours, why we can't do that?
We can more than do that.
We can more than do that, right? Yeah, there's a lot. But I was happy that he was able to let us know certainly about his international ventures going forward, because I think that's important to understand. As I said, I think he is beyond soca, and I've always been the lyrics always has transcended for me in terms of all these soca artists. He's it regardless. The ability to improvise, certainly in the live situation, his ability to perform live and work a crowd. I saw him in St. Lucia match up the crowd.
Yeah.
I think these are important things to recognize, and the kind of serious conversation about the idea of colorism and segregation within soca, within Carnival, is something that we have to recognize, because that does affect how far we can go with this music called soca music. And we have to seriously think about whether or not it makes any sense, because we have segregation here in Trinidad, and then when you go to America, they're going to tell us, well, you're not country, you're not R&B, you're not hip hop because you're from the Caribbean and all that kind of stuff. We have to seriously think about what matters and what doesn't matter. But
we have some ways to go. We have some ways to go to really overcome this nonsense.
Yeah.
And this thing where you have it in your head, as he said, you put somebody in a box because of something that may have happened years ago, and you don't let that go. I mean, Bunji and Fayan have evolved and progressed so much. They're not living in a ghetto, far from it. They certainly live a very,
they've earned it.
Economic class of lifestyle.
Yeah, they've earned it, because that is one of the rewards. That's why you're in the business of music,
Exactly.
and they've gotten the rewards, and they're just rewards. And I'm happy that they're continuing to produce music that has ears internationally as well as locally.
Yeah, and make music with no mental barriers.
Yes.
I love it. And very intentional. Bunji is very intentional and strategic about his music and what he wants and where he wants to go and the way he views things. So, now that he's no longer part of the road march race, we're still going to get good music from him. That's not going to stop.
Not going to stop at all. Say what? Yeah. And I'm happy. Well, yeah, that's just true. Actually, the fact that he left Soca Monarch and now he's left road march, it's really helped his career. So, hey,
it does.
A new pathway going forward. We're looking forward to Bunji Garlin in 2025. And 2026, because he has a new music celebration. So say what? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard a beautiful conversation here with Bunji Garlin, and that's another episode of our Soca Sessions in 2025. And we have a couple more in the pipeline before we kind of continue to the broader Caribbean space to have conversations about music in the Caribbean. Yes. So that's it today for Music Matters,
the Caribbean edition. I am Laura Dowridge.
And I'm Nigel Campbell. Bye.